This amateur radio roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. All right, hello to all of our viewers out there and people listening on International Shortwave Station WBCQ. I'm Tom Medlin, W5KUB, and this is Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's Tuesday, November, what's the 20th? 20th, November 20th.
Who'd you hit?
And November 20th, it's Tuesday, November 20th. So, hey, we got a good show for you guys tonight. Hey, we've got some stuff we're going to be talking about. EME and moons, EME and meteor scatter, some antenna matching, some power line interference. Josh is going to have a little thing on a little do-it-yourself project. We got a lot of things going on tonight. If you're listening on Shortwave Station WBCQ, shoot us an email and send it to Tom at W5KUB.com. Tom at W5KUB.com. Send us an email, let us know where you are, let us know how you're hearing us, and we'd love to hear from you. And if you have the internet, you can join us and watch the show tonight. Just go to W5KUB.com. W5 Kilo Uniform Bravo.com, and you can join the show, join in on the chat room and all that, and we'd love to have you there. You know, we got Thanksgiving coming up here in a couple of days. Looking forward to that. That's one of my favorite holidays is Thanksgiving. And then we got a couple more holidays coming up here, which are pretty nice, you know, Christmas and New Year's. And I've got to decide on Christmas and New Year's if anybody wants to see the show, because Christmas and New Year's both fall on Tuesday. So I don't know what we're going to do there. You know, we might just run a rerun or something on those nights for people that, you know, don't have any presents to open or anything like that. Hey, I want to show you something just real quick here. I've got, you guys may know Sam in the chat room, KE0IAA. Sam had some terrible interference. Hey, guys, come here. Walk around this way. My granddaughter from college just came in for like one day, and here she is. Everybody say hello to Lauren there. Lauren, you're on TV. So.
Hello.
How's it going?
I know you won't be here when I get through, but I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you. Okay. All right. So that was Lauren. Lauren, are you in your second year in college now? She's in her second year at college and just loving it down in Mississippi and Hattiesburg, and doesn't ever want to come home hardly. Anyway, okay, where was I? Oh, I was talking about Sam. Sam had some terrible interference, and I want to play you a little 10-second clip of what her interference was. Now, hey, Pat and Josh, you're not going to hear the sound of this the way I've got it queued up, but everybody else is going to hear this. I want you guys to hear this. It sounds like the devil is making this noise, and you're going to see how bad it is. And you watch the video. She tunes all the channels. Watch this. Well, as you guys could see, that was no fun to try to operate by. In fact, she could not even operate. It was so noisy. And if you noticed, it was on every single band, all the way up through 2 meters. Terrible. So anyway, she was able to contact the power company there, Alent Energy, and they sent a guy out. Look at this. I've got a couple pictures here. Here he is. They sent a guy out there. There's a little with some noise and you know, directional capabilities there to try to find out. This looks like this is actually for audio or for sound with the little dish right there. Aiming it up there at the insulators up there, and he was able to locate the noise, and they were able, I think, to fix it. She tells me that things are sounding really good now. They're back to their normal S level, but you can see the guy brought out some good testimonies. He's got a parabolic dish here located. He's got a RFI locator. Look at that. That probably cost him a little money. And there's another handheld unit he had, and another one. So we're real happy that Sam has got all that noise taken care of, and she can operate now. I did not hear her on the net tonight. But you know what? Let me mention the net tonight, guys. Normally we have about 25, 30 check-ins for our Roundtable net. I was able to pull 3 guys out tonight. That's all we had, 3. The bands were terrible tonight. I was expecting Sam to be on here, but from Iowa, from Perry, Iowa, we just couldn't get her there. All right, so look, let's do this. Let's jump out to Pat K7 LNP. I know that as low noise preamp. Before I go though, in the studio tonight with me is Walter. There we go. Hey, Walter.
Good evening. How are you?
Look at here, Walter. Our A300 pilot is here tonight. It's not flying tonight. Just real quick, you took your flight physical today, right?
Mm-hmm. It did.
You passed it okay?
Yep. Not a problem.
You're okay.
Yep. Good to go for another 6 months.
If I went riding with you, would probably you no heart attacks or nothing, right?
Nah, we should make it.
All right. Well, look, hey, he's in good health. He's still flying, and he's back with us tonight. We'll get a chance to talk to him in a little while. But let's jump back out to Pat out in California, K7 LNP. And Pat is going to talk to us about EME and all kind of other aspects. And hey, guys, bear with me. We're on the new Skype tonight, and everything looks different. All the screenshots look different, so I may be doing a little adjustments. But let's go out to Pat. Pat, how you doing out there, man?
Doing good, Tom. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
Sounds good. And I'm located in Utah. I'm just southwest of Salt Lake City. No problem at all. Well, first of all, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving coming up this week. And I thought what we would do tonight is talk a little bit about meteor scatter and a little bit about antennas. More of just some reference stuff. I don't proclaim to be an expert by any means. I've been building VHF and UHF antennas for years and years and years. But, everybody takes a different approach. When you look at different antennas that you can buy, from manufacturers, everybody rates them a little bit different. Different antennas have different purposes for different people. But I thought we'd talk a little bit about antennas and their use in the VHF world and building antennas and some reference links. And a little bit about meteor scatter. We just finished up with the Leonids meteor shower. We're still seeing some after effects of it. But I got a PowerPoint presentation put together. We want to try to switch over to that, Tom?
Sure. Can you switch?
Yeah, I hope so. There we go. Screen share. Share. Hold on. It's taking a minute to load. Can you see that okay?
Yes, I'm starting to see it, but okay, hang on. I'm gonna have to do some adjustments here. So stand by and let me set up a camera shot for you here real quick. All right, we're getting close. Well, this new Skype is something, man. Getting close. Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Like the title of these slides too. Very cool.
Cool, thank you. So let's get started. Let's talk about the meteor shower we just had. We just had the Leonids take place this past weekend. The best bands for meteor scatter work, of course, are 6.2, 220, and 432. I would say anybody new giving it a try, 6 and 2 would be your best bet. There's a handful of us on 220 that are still going at it. 432 is a real long shot. Maybe a big array and a lot of power and a good receiver, who knows. But I would say 6 and 2 meters are the most common modes. It's basically having some fun with the debris field. Basically what a meteor shower is it is the comet trail or comet tail as the comets move throughout our solar system and throughout space. As the Earth lines up, the debris field, the Earth actually passes, well, the debris field passes through the Earth, passes past the Earth, and of course it creates some fun for VHF activity. The Leonid shower that just took place is actually the comet tail of Temple Tuttle. Nice picture there taken actually here in Salt Lake City. For meteor scatter, from a real high level, you've got two stations, one on one side, one on the other. As the meteor goes overhead and we get the burn, we get kind of an artificial ionosphere, if you want to call it that, and you can refract the signals off of that meteor trail. Sometimes if you're listening to your radio on let's say, a station where there's a signal that's normally present, and you hear the ping, or if you're on the calling frequency, let's say you're on 50.125, the sideband calling frequency for 6 meters, or 144.2, every now and then you'll hear something that pingy type of sound. I probably should have had a little audio recording. And usually what that is again, that's a meteor trail or a meteor itself. Sometimes you'll even hear quite a bit of a signal that'll come through a real long burn. It just depends. But a good time to get active, and when a lot of the hams get active, is through these showers. Put a few dates down here if somebody wants to give a listen or wants to try to participate in it. The Quantities is January 1st through the 10th. Basically, it's 10 days. The shower probably will peak somewhere around the 5th or 6th. There is some software out there. I forgot to put a link to it, but there is some software out there where you can actually predict the peak. The Lyrids is another good shower, the 16th through the 25th in April. The Aquarids from April 19th through May 26th. It's a big tail, a big debris field, and not the greatest shower, but again, activity is there. The Perseids, one of the best, July 13th through the 26th. It usually peaks, believe it or not, around the 21st of the month. You can go out to space.com or meteorlive.com, and there's more information there. The Orionids, September 23rd through the 27th. Again, the peak is first part of the month. And the Orionids is the debris trail of Halley's Comet, believe it or not. So that's another decent shower. And then again, the Leonids will take place again next year in 2019. There's quite a few different places that you can go take a look and get the dates of the approximate peaks. As I mentioned in the EME presentation, when we did that a little while ago, a good gathering place is a website called pingjockey.net. It's a good place for meteor scatter work. It's a good place for EME, CW, and JT65. A lot of the weak signal folks hang out there. Matter of fact, I took this screenshot tonight. Quite a few people, even though the Leonids is kind of past, again, we still have there's still meteor activity all the time. I mean, how many times are you sitting out in the yard at night and you see something go whizzing overhead, So, again, your chances are a little bit better, and people tend to congregate a little bit more during a meteor shower. But the Ping Jockey is pretty active. Also in the morning, you've got a pretty hardcore group of guys that will set up skeds and try to work different skeds and have some fun. So again, Ping Jockey is a good place to go for real-time activity. Over here, this is my setup right now is quite small. I've got a hex beam up, and I've got a 3-element M² 6-meter antenna. I did participate in the shower this past weekend. Ended up scheduling about 5 or 6 skeds, and I completed 2 of them, just with a little 3-element beam and 100 watts. My other tower is not up at the moment, so that's all I had. And it worked just fine. Actually, I've even worked a few people using the 2 elements of the hex beam as well. 3 elements are better, you hear better directivity, what have you, but I've been able to do it with the 2 element as well. Some people in the Midwest on 2 meters were using these egg beater antennas. These are put out commercially by M². There's different designs out there that you can find. It's an omnidirectional antenna. These are great. They're essentially satellite antennas. Tom, you've done satellite work. Have you ever used any of these for your stuff, or always Yagis?
I've built some of those, yeah.
Yeah. So they actually they're a good omni antenna. They actually do pretty well, believe it or not. So people, there's a couple guys that actually tried to run some skeds, and I believe that there was some completion out there. So you can buy them, or again, you can put them together. This is an antenna that a friend of mine put up over the weekend. It's made by PAR. It's a 50 megahertz. It's an omnidirectional antenna, and he actually completed 2 QSOs via Ping Talk. Ping jockey, and as you can see, it's also fed just with RG8X, and he actually had some success back in Illinois with it. So again, different antennas that you can use. Here is a copy of the screen. MSK 144 is the digital mode that is used. It falls under the WSJT X suite of programs by K1JT. You can go out there and just Google MSK 144 or WSJT. There's downloads all over the place. So there's just a simple screenshot of a Meteor QSO or a sked that's in progress. For 6 meters, the calling frequency is 50.260. If you download WJST, put on MSK 144, get everything all set up to fly. Again, we're talking about this at kind of the 10,000 level, 10,000 foot level at the moment, but that's where you would tune for 6 meters. For 2 meters, you would call at 1.4, you would listen at 144, 150. These are standard calling frequencies. If you have schedules set up with people, if you set up a sched with somebody on Ping Jockey, be courteous. Move up. You got plenty of band space to go up, to go down. Move up 20, 30 kcs or move down 20, 30 kcs with a scheduled QSO and take it from there. Any questions about Meteor Scatter, Tom? Anything that has come through the chat or anything you want to talk about? Again, I know we're talking just at a real high level. We'll do a program on WSJTX and MSK 144 a little later on down the road, but it was a lot of fun. It was actually an enjoyable weekend to get out and complete some QSOs.
All right.
So that's Meteor Scatter. Let's go on from there. Just wanted to touch base a little bit because
really quick, there was a couple questions from the chat. You mind if I just relay them?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Josh.
Yeah. So one of them is, what is the typical length of time for a QSO with Meteor Shower?
Good, excellent question. It can be anywhere from a couple of, well, I shouldn't say a couple of seconds, but maybe a minute to 2 minutes. And I've had a few myself in particular that I've gone as long as 30 minutes.
Okay. And there's another one. What direction do you aim at with a 6 meter Yagi for scatter? I guess this would depend on where you're at in the country, right?
Exactly. And again, there is, you always want to point into the radiant of it. It depends where you're at. Again, there's some software. I should have put a link out there. There is some live prediction software that you can use. And I would point into it. Also, if you're trying, let's say here in Salt Lake, let's say I'm trying to work somebody in Missouri or somebody over in South Dakota. Realistically, the best thing to do is probably point the Yagi at them, just if you were going to try to do it on FT8 or F1, F2 or whatever. So I'd point it at the station. A little elevation helps quite a bit. If you're able to elevate the antennas, matter of fact, the local ham who has set a lot of records here up north of us, Mike K7ULS, has an EME array that he uses, and he's able to actually elevate the antennas, and that made for a world of difference. So a good EME array can also be extremely happy and helpful, and also increase your chances if you can elevate the antennas up a little bit.
So, hey, Pat, let me interrupt just for a second. We're trying to figure out this new Skype. Tonight's our first night.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of leaving this single slide up the whole time, previously we could flip back and forth between your live picture and the presentation. I don't think I can do that now. Is it easy for you to flip live camera back and then go back to your presentation? If it's not easy, don't do it.
All I've got on my little box is the actual presentation. That's all I can see.
I used to have the option to see both your presentation and your live camera, and I could easily switch back and forth. I don't think that's available in the new Skype, so we'll roll with this. You're doing a great job. Were there any other questions, Josh?
Oh, I just had a personal one. I saw that you had a 2-element, look like a hex beam there, so you were able to have success with a hex beam then. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did, Josh. Before I put up the 3-element beam, I have another tower with a 6-element beam for 6, but before I was able to put that up, I use that all the time. I've got about probably 700-800 contacts on 6 meters with that antenna. So yes, the 2 elements, no problem at all. I actually worked JA. This summer we had a great JA opening on 6 using FT8 in August, and I actually forgot to switch over to the 3-element or the 6-element, and I did it with the 2 elements on the it's an NA4RR hex beam, and yeah, I've actually had real good success with it.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you for that.
Sure, it's a great antenna. They work out really well even for 6 meters. All right, talking about antennas, let's talk about some of the stuff up on the roof. Again, I'd like to use this time to talk more about references a little bit than anything else, and just pass on a little bit of information that I have, and hopefully it can educate somebody else. A lot of different antennas can be used for weak signal work and for meteor scatter. Another omnidirectional antenna is one called the Ho Loop. It's put out by M Squared. They make one for 2, 6, and 432. There's a couple other people that manufacture them as well. They're a horizontally polarized antenna. Could you use it for 6 meters on meteor scatter? Sure, why not? People have had success with it. It's a great antenna. It's a great antenna to listen to beacons with. Another common antenna is the J-pole, another homemade antenna that works out really, really well for listening to beacons and stuff like that. I've actually got a couple of these up. And I have one radio that I have sit monitoring 6 and 2 meter beacons. I don't get too concerned with 2 meters here, being up at the elevation we are. Again, we don't see any any kind of tropo activity up here. But again, it's up there and it's listening to a couple of beacons in Fairfield, Utah, about 85 miles south of me. The 2 meter horizontal Yagi, probably the most used for 2 meter sideband, something in the 9, 10, 11, 12 element size is pretty common. Here's a 2 Yagi EME array. We talked a little bit about EME about a month ago. There's the moon up in the distance. It's got the 2 Yagis, and we'll talk a little bit more about this array as we move down in the presentation. Great system to have set up for meteor scatter. Again, if you're able to elevate the antennas, it does wonders. They do take up room. Here's a smaller EME array with 4 antennas on an H-frame, and it still eats up a lot of real estate. So let's talk a little bit about building it or buying it and kind of getting into it. Time, money, and experimenting. Most of us, if we have time, we don't have the money. If we've got the money, we don't have the time. And also building antennas is a lot of fun. I think that's the biggest part of the hobby, is building equipment up, and antennas are a great thing. There's tons of online web resources out there, so you've got a lot of great information at your fingertips all the time. Hopefully I can point you in the direction tonight of some things to look at that you may want to consider if you decide to get into building your own antennas, which I highly recommend. Again, some websites, we'll go through those in a second. Martin Steyer, this website is DK7ZB. Martin is a retired RF engineer. You can go out to that website right there. Martin has a bunch of unbelievable designs, everything from 1296 to, I believe, 40 meters. He has quite a few different antenna designs out there. On his website, he has all of the different the drawings, all the different specifications. He goes into different types of feeds. You could spend a lot of time sitting on this website. I've probably spent 20, 30 hours over the past year or two, and I just continually try to keep re-educating myself. So a great site to go and find plans and get you started. Of course, Justin, G0KSC, Justin has all his stuff at that site. If you want to buy his antennas, you can go to innovantennas.com where he offers them for sale. But one thing I do like about Justin's site, he provides all of the modeling software downloads for all of his antennas, so you can download it. He provides all of the specs, the lengths, the spacing, the element size, the boom size, the construction. And if you don't buy anything from him, as I mentioned last time, if you email him, he'll help you out. The guy is just developing more and more antennas. He's partnered with MFJ and Martin. Some of the new Cushcraft antennas are coming out with the LFA feed. That these are all derived from Justin's stuff. So you can have a lot of fun going out to his site and looking around. Again, look at some different antennas. He has all the gain specs, everything you could ever want, and you can download that information, and you can build those antennas right from the specs. He even has plans that you can print out. So I can't say enough about what he offers to the community. Another great site is YU7EF. Same thing, a lot of Yagis out there, everything from 1296 to 80 meters, even has dipoles and stuff out there, all the specs, everything you could ever want. So if you're considering getting into weak signal work or what have you, whatever you may want to get into, go check out some of these sites. There is just a wealth of knowledge from people that have done it. The antennas are optimized. There's just some great stuff out there. You can go out and take a look and see if there's something that fits the bill for you. Educate yourself. That information, again, it's out there. Go out, enjoy it, take advantage of it. Any of those people, even if you email them with questions, they're more than happy to get back to you. Before I ever bought, I actually have a lot of Innov antennas here at my site, at my house. And even before I bought the first one from Justin, the guy was just, he bent over backwards to help me with some different things I was playing with in the past. You can use a lot of different materials too. Again, this is an antenna. No, this is not mine. I have another one in here. Here's an antenna that's built out of it's a 432 antenna that is built out of a ruler, out of a yardstick, and some feed line, and those are actually, I believe those are clothes hangers that were snipped. So you can go out and you can go ahead and build stuff yourself. And that actually has a little LFA, it's vertically, looks like it's on there vertically versus horizontally, but you can go ahead and use something like that. Diane Ng worked quite a few satellites, AO7. I think she actually set some records, KC2 UHB, with her little homebrew Yagi and a handheld. It worked. Again, she built it just out of a piece of balsa wood and some coat hangers. Here's a little 3-element made out of PVC and some aluminum, some coax and some PVC parts and a little bit of aluminum tubing, or it looks like aluminum rod. Here's this gentleman here on his website. I forgot to put his call. He worked quite a bit of meteor scatter with this homebrew antenna that he made out of old TV antennas. Found an old couple TV antennas in the garbage, picked them up, scrapped the parts off them, made the little feed there in the back, and had good success. Here's the antenna again. Here's a different antenna, wooden boom, some elements, a little feed point. You go ahead and put it all together with some wing nuts, and you have yourself an antenna. Here's a YU7EF design for 6 and 4 meters. Here in the United States, we don't have privileges to work on 4, but we do on 6. Over in the UK, they do. So this is a dual band beam that's a UY7EF design. A lot of guys on the East Coast are actually building these antennas, even though we don't have privileges to operate 4 meters. A lot of guys are building them and seeing what they can hear on 70 megahertz. How to find the parts, whether you're going to buy it or homebrew it. Justin, you're going to need a few things, like a boom to mass clamp is something that you could homemade, you could brew up yourself or buy. G0KSC, again, on his website, Justin offers all these little parts, dipole centering kit parts, boom joiners. He uses square booms in his operation. He sells the joiners. Again, very inexpensive, a lot of these parts. If you're going to build LFA Yagis with an LFA feed, to go out and buy the benders and all that stuff, that can cost a little bit of money and a little bit of work. He sells them on there for a couple of bucks, and he'll ship them out. You can have them in a matter of a couple of weeks. He offers ballons. There's balons. There's a lot of companies that offer that, but you can get that from him. Here's a little Yagi, a little cross pole Yagi. Actually, this is interesting. This is a 432 cross-pole Yagi, if you look at that dish in the back, they're using this as a feed in the dish. So that's what's pointing at the dish. I believe, I can't think of the call, this is one of the big European EME operators, and that's up in the feed horn pointing back at the I believe that's a 22-foot dish. But that's one of the LFA cross-pole designs by Justin. There's his, he's kind of the guy, I don't want to say that he designed the LFA feed point, but he goes out and he pushes it in his antennas. He's had a lot of success with it. I have a couple here with that. With the LFA feed, your noises tend to be quite a bit less. Element insulators. In the old days, they kind of just screwed the elements on top of the boom or pushed them through. A lot of guys now are going to designs where they use a square boom and they use these little element insulators, have the elements off the boom, have the LFA driven element off the boom. Everything is kind of floating in free space. Justin and Martin and a lot of the different guys are using NEC Pro 4, which is modeling software. Justin has new designs out on his website. There's a lot of different sites you can find that guys are doing this, but there's a lot of people that are playing with modeling, and that's why antennas have come so far. I mean, years and years ago, for a 2-meter Yagi, longest boom you could possibly swing, throw as many elements on. They were all spaced the same. Maybe they went from large to small, maybe they didn't. But now with the new modeling software that's out there and the sharing of information, antennas can be designed for all kinds of different situations, whether you want gain, whether you want side-to-side rejection, whether you want more front-to-back, whether you want a bigger front lobe. There's a lot of different things you can do, and with some of this modeling software, you can actually build the antenna, in the computer, if you will, with the software, and then snap out the print. Some pretty interesting stuff. I've played with it a little bit, but again, only so much time in the day. Here's another EME array used for meteor scatter. This one I believe is from Europe. It's a 2-meter array that was put up with 4 Yagis. There's a DK7ZB design array, again for EME and for meteor scatter. That's a completely homebrew array. Here's the Yagi I built a couple years ago. It's just made out of a piece of PVC. Put this thing together, was going to use it for some mountaintop operating, and it actually worked out pretty well. I actually grabbed some plans out of, I believe it was out of the handbook. I think I built the thing for literally all of about $10. It wasn't too expensive. Something Tom could probably talk about a little bit more than me, but as an antenna analyzer. Tom, you've got quite a few of them over there, and I know you play with a lot of wires, and even though while we're talking VHF and UHF, these things, the Comet one goes all the way to 500 meg. I've got one of the old MFJ 259s from years ago. You use these analyzers quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I do. In fact, today did a lot of work with one. Actually, I use both the MFJ and the Comet.
So it definitely is good to have, so you don't have to be hooking up your radio, running in all the time, playing with the SWR meter, power meter. You can actually prune or tune the antenna right there.
Yeah, man. So I wish we had something like this when I was a novice, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, way back then they had some of the big grid dip meters you could use, but no, these things are amazing. I know I'm saving my nickels for one of the Comets. I've got this one right here. It's a great meter. It goes all the way to 200 to 220, and it's been plugged into a lot of antennas over here at the station. So again, some good tools to have to go ahead and do some building with. Let's talk about, and then we're going to wrap it up, to stack antennas or not, is it really worth the effort? Here's an example of a 7/7 for 6 meters. So it's 7 elements, 2 7-element Yagis that are stacked over the top of each other, up on top of the roof, LFA design Yagi. Some things to consider. And some talking points is the stacking of antennas, a method for increasing the gain by decreasing the radiation angles. Theoretically, if you put a second Yagi up there with the optimal stacking distance, you're going to get an additional 3 dB. The wider they're stacked, and I can tell you this for a fact because I've played around with enough antennas, the wider they're stacked, the higher the gain, But the larger they get, the more unwieldy they get. The side lobes get crazy, and the antennas start to act a little bit wacky. So without going into all kinds of technical stuff, because I'm not that technical of a guy, I find a design, I go ahead, look at the tech specs. Most of them have the stacking distance right there. Again, the closer they're stacked, the lower the gain, but the cleaner the pattern. So some things to consider when you're stacking antennas. One feed line for 2 antennas. We'll just talk 2 antennas at the moment. What I use on my EME array is a power divider. Feed comes in on the bottom, and then we need 2 feed cables, 2 phasing cables that are of the exact same length. What I've found with the power divider is they tend to be, I don't have a network analyzer or anything like that over here. What I do is I've got a jig out in my garage. I usually use Superflex or like LMR 600, kind of a rigid cable, and I've got a jig made out of 4x4s, and I put the cables in there, and I pull them as tight as I can, cut one end, and then I go to the other end, and I try to cut them as close as I can, put the connectors on. The power dividers seem to be a little bit more forgiving. I know there's other ways to feed antennas, but I've had pretty good success where I can use 50 ohm cable in and 50 ohm cable out, put to both Yagis, and no problem at all. The Yagis have got to be the same, and of course the phasing lines have to be the same. Here's a little set of 1296 antennas that somebody put up. So they've got the power divider down there, as you can see, and then they have the access, the feed points, and then of course the equal length phasing lines. Again, very critical that they're as spot on as possible. The higher you go up in frequency, the more critical it's going to be. I would say that if you were going to put together let's say a 4-bay array or a couple antennas like this gentleman did on 1296, I would maybe purchase them. Or a company that can make them with a network analyzer can make sure they're both electrically the same. If you go to DK7ZB's website, again, he shows you here how to make phasing cables. Pretty interesting. He talks about using different length cables. He's had very good success. There's several pages and articles on making phasing cables for the array. What I would suggest, or what you need to do, again, I'll tell you this from experience, before you put them together, make sure that both antennas are tuned up using 50 ohm cable. If you've got one of those analyzers, build your antenna, set it up, get it up out of the way, up on the roof or something, and make sure they're both tuned. Once they're both precisely tuned, and you put them together into the power divider and then into the feed line, usually it's not a problem. They tend to fly okay. In fact, it's a bad idea to retune either of them at that point. Just leave them alone. If you have a problem with one antenna, make sure the issues are straightened out, because adding another one is just going to complicate things. So tune them separately, make the phasing cables the same length, and it should fly just fine. Here's an antenna I found kind of interesting, and I got all the parts laying on my workbench for it. It's a zigzag dipole by DK7ZB. There's a great article. Again, go out to DK7ZB, take a look at it. If you want to experiment with something really cool, check this thing out. I've got all the materials. Now I've just got to find the time to put this thing together. Here's one of Cushcraft's new 16-element LFAs. If you look at the end there, there's the LFA feed. That's a redesigned antenna by Cushcraft with Justin helping Martin out on that. That's going to be a great antenna. It's already getting really, really good reviews. Questions to answer as far as stacking antennas. What's the real reason? Do you really need a lot more gain? Are you looking for a better receive? Should we stack vertically or horizontally? How far apart do we stack the antennas? Vertical stacking looks similar to this. Most people would say, wow, that looks like an FM, a pair of 13-element antennas for an FM array, for FM work. Although EMEers are now, there's several guys that are running horizontal polarization and vertical polarization. I think we talked a little bit about the cross pole, or here's strictly vertical polarizations. People are having success with moon bounce communications using this setup right here, using 2 antennas on one crossboom. That crossboom is about 10 feet. The vertical antenna stack, again, it's great for FM work. Vertical antennas are usually more noisy, and no isolation is needed for an EME array. Let's talk a little bit about isolation. in the next slide or two. For stacking horizontal antennas, again, they're great for single sideband work. They're very popular for EME, and they're usually quieter. Horizontal antennas tend to be quieter, but isolation is needed for the array. When you look at an EME array, this one here is my friend Mike's K7ULS. If you look at these two antennas, these are a pair of M-squared 12-element beams. That cross-polarization, that cross boom, is a fiberglass cross boom, and there's a reason for that. That's what it's actually made up. The antennas need to be physically separate and electrically separate. Here's the antennas a little bit closer up shop. He's up in Eden, Utah, beautiful part of the country. And as you can see, there's the cross boom. He's got an elevation rotor sitting right here and an azimuth rotor underneath it, and then the phasing lines. Right there, I drew the circles, he's connected to the fiberglass boom. So essentially, the antenna, from its perspective, being on a fiberglass mast like that, so the elements don't have any metal in the way, the antenna is almost floating in free space. With horizontal antennas, I learned this on my own when I used an aluminum 10-foot crossboom to stack them together, and I have these same exact antennas. I couldn't understand why my SWRs were changing. Everything about the array just was crazy. And then I realized that you needed to have the electrical separation. So stacking two horizontal Yagis, if you want them to work properly, fiberglass crossboom. Vertical, not an issue. The elements are out of the plane of the crossbow. You can get these at Army Navy surplus stores. You can find them pretty cheap. We've got one in town. I actually put them together with Gorilla Glue, and then I shove a dowel rod down the middle of them, and they're almost indestructible. The stacking for the 12-element antennas is 11 feet. Again, if you go out and take a look, this is my antenna here, the 2M12s. Mike puts all the information. M-squared gives you all the information, the boom length, everything, turning radius, and he even shows you right here stacking distance. For optimum stacking, 11 feet high, 11 feet wide. I did some real-world testing with my 2M12 Yagis about a year ago, played with some different calculators, and that's where the gain changed. At 9 feet, dropped it down to 17.5. At 11 feet, it brought it up to 17.1 dB. Not much, just a few tenths of a dB, but it did change by moving them closer together or farther apart, again, mounted on a horizontal plane. You can go out to this website. This is a great little calculator by DG7YBN. You can go out there and put in the frequency. You need the E plane and the H plane of your antenna. So again, I would most likely go out and look at it. If you want to play with it, look at some existing antennas and plug the numbers in, and it'll give you the stacking distances. So again, educate yourself. This stuff is out there for us to use. There it is right there. DG7YBN, that's the URL to it. Need to find a way to put these presentations up somewhere in the next week or two, and if people want to add to them, comment, or pull them apart, whatever, that's fine, they'll be there. Why stack antennas? Again, greater gain compared to boom length increases. I would rather have a pair of 12-foot booms than one 31-foot boom and have to deal with the physical constraints of that. The directivity really increases, and the noise cancellation as far as being able to turn away from signals. Not only do they add 3 dB on the transmit side, but they also help on the receive side as well. Phenomenally help on the receive side. Considerations, though, for multiple, this was really wrong. Considerations for multiple antennas on one mast is, again, the interaction, the stacking distance, the supporting framework, survivability. If you're in a part of the country where they have a lot of high winds or you have a lot of ice storms, EME arrays don't do well. Stacked arrays don't do well. They have to be built, very tough. And of course, the availability of space. When we looked at the first one up there. So there's, again, some things that you have to consider. But all in all, I think it's worth the effort for EME, for sure. For Meteor Scatter, when we looked at that one EME array, it was a heck of a lot of, I sure wish I would have had the elevation here in the station. So anyway, that concludes my little presentation. I hope that I educated you a little bit. I hope that I gave you some reference to look at. Again, I'm not an expert by any means, but I've sure been playing with these antennas and this equipment for a long time, and I could say that baptism by fire has taught me a lot of things, but there's so many great resources. Take a look at those sites if you've got interest. It's well worth the time invested.
Yeah, there's all kind of resources, as you mentioned, and it's amazing what you can do with PVC pipe, and I think Josh is going to probably tell us something else a little later too. But I want you to look at this. I believe this is back to my earlier satellite days. This is the egg beater.
Yep, there you go.
I think this was 440. I actually put a preamp in here. It's got a little ground plane right here. It's got the egg beater. This is more square than round. So. Again, PVC here, and look at this. There was one satellite, and I think you're not up here anymore, but I believe back when I was active, this was 2.4 gigs. And this is a circular polarized. This has got a ground plane here. It's got a little matching strip down here at the bottom to match the impedance. It's just helically wound. And I actually received from a satellite on 2.4. I actually made a contact, and you'd think, hey, my Wi-Fi in a house won't hardly go 100 feet. How will 2.4 come out of space? And but it does. So that's another one. And then you were talking about the little homemade Yagis, and they've seen this on a show before. Let me get to a wider shot here. This is. Let me turn it this way. You might can see let me get a different background. Let me get a dark background. You might see it better there. You can see the elements here. Again, it's a real simple match on the driven element. It's just it's a hairpin loop on one side. It's a single on the other side, a hairpin on the other side, and it's a pretty good match. You hook your coax right to it. And hey, we just added the tape measure to here, and this gives us a 440 and 2 meter. Now this is not for, of course, EME or anything like that, but you were showing the homebrew of the little 440 antennas, and that's a very popular antenna to build.
Yeah, that 2.4 gig. There was, I know the big hope for that, Tom. If you remember back when AO 16 launched, that was going to be the catch-all satellite, but it had a lot of problems once it was launched. So, but I know there was a few that had a 2.4 downlink.
Well, and I'm gonna get something else here real quick and show you. I've got to get in the door here, so we're having to do a little shuffle here. But you wonder how a person can do 2.4 gig and what kind of equipment it takes. And Walter, you can come back over now. It was not difficult because for about $35 or so, they make these down converters. You can buy them on the internet, on eBay. And this was used as a channel 33 down converter. And there's a little mod, and it's on the internet. You can go in here, take this cover off. You make a little mod in here, put your 2.4 antenna on here, and it down converts it to 10 meters, and you receive the satellite on 10 meters. So these things are out there, 15, 20 bucks to get you on, up into the microwave range. All right, so hey, you need to get your picture back if you can figure out how to do it, and that looks weird.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can you figure out how to get your picture back? It would be, you do a stop sharing.
I did that. I shut that down.
That does anything.
Somebody asked in the chat, what's your call, Pat?
K7LNP.
There you go.
Low noise preamp. So you can't figure out how to get yourself back? Oh man. Yep, this new Skype is fun, let me tell you. Okay. Well, I see me on there, and I see.
Did that help?
Oh, there you go. There we go. We got you. We got you. We got you guys on here now. Very good. There you go. There we go. So, hey, that was great. A lot of good information there. And I know you didn't get into a lot of detail. You use switchers and all kinds of things to keep, switch the preamps out before the power comes up, and you've got a quite sophisticated thing here. And maybe we can talk a little more about that sometime, but you gave us a good overview of what kind of antennas to use and so forth.
Build the antenna first, and you can improve things.
Our goal here is to try to make a EME contact. Let's see if I can get you in here. Make an EME contact. I've got a 14 element, one of the long MFJ 2-meter beams. That's all I've got, but that's what we're going to try. And we talked about an amplifier and a few things like that. So that's going to be one of the next things we do. But right now, I'm just trying to get back on satellite. And at the beginning of the show, Walter came over, and we had a SO50 pass that went over, and we kind of made a contact, I think, but it was a little noisy.
I haven't been doing much satellite work, but I've been listening again, and there's a lot of activity out there.
Yeah, and 7 years ago, 7 years ago, you had some very easy birds up there, AO50, or was it 51, whatever it was. Boy, a loud FM, easy to work, and I always hated the sideband birds, but now the program over here actually controls the radio, and it actually sets the Doppler frequency, and it follows your sideband. So once you tune a person in there, your transmit and receive is locked together, and it tunes, the program tunes it. So it's kind of cool. We'll talk a little about that probably one night soon.
What radio are you using for satellite town? I'm curious.
Well, let me tell you what I just recently I put up. I always used a 5-element 2-meter, and I had I think 11-element 440 up on my azimuth elevation. I ran 100 feet of this really good coax, this messy coax from Italy that MFJ sells. It's a real low loss. I think it's a little bit better cable than LMR 400. Anyway, I ran it down, but I had to run 100 feet, so that's quite long on 2 meters and 440. But I was not hardly getting the received signal of any satellite down here. It was really concerning me that I had an antenna system problem. Well, that was using a TS2000. I used to use that. The TS2000, a great satellite radio. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with the antenna system, so I've got a Yaesu FT991A here, and it also has UHF, VHF. And I moved that radio over to it, and I plugged the satellite program into it where it tunes the radio. And man, I'm hearing people now, pretty loud. And on every pass, I'm hearing people and actually talking to people. So I don't know what's gone wrong with the TS2000. It's just not as sensitive. Maybe the Yaesu is just more sensitive. I don't know.
Does the program you use, does it do the switching? Because the 991, it's not really a satellite radio, right? Like the 2000 or the old 847. Those had the satellite capabilities built in. So are you using software to control that now?
There's a program called SAT PC32. Okay. And it will interface to a number of different radios through the USB port or the serial port. And it will actually, it does everything for you. If you go to a satellite, a Chinese satellite, the CW2X or whatever it is, it'll actually put the radio on the right transmit frequency and the right receive frequency. And as that satellite moves, it will actually move the frequency Doppler shift. It'll actually tune the radios to follow that. If you're on an FM bird and it requires, a tone, what is it, a CTCSS tone, like 67 hertz, the program actually turns the correct tone on for you in the radio. So it does it all.
Oh, wow.
It does it all. So it's It's pretty cool. I mean, you can.
And what's that called again? I'll have to check that out.
It's called SAT PC32, and it's free. I used to use Orbitron years ago, but this thing is so much more advanced than Orbitron. SAT PC32. And it'll track anything. It'll track the moon. If you wanted to do moon bounce, it'll track the moon and give you the position. And, the azimuth and elevation, all those kind of good things. So I think that program will come in handy too for EME, as we've been discussing. And the nice thing about that program, you can put it in preview mode, and you can click the time and just run the time, and you can see the satellites moving across the screen, and you can see when one's going to come over you and make note and so forth. It's really cool. So.
Oh, very good. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and I'm going to be needing some of your help, especially when we get ready to do the EME stuff. I'm going to need a lot of guidance, man.
Well, I've been talking to a couple of hardcore EMEers, and we'll see. We'll look at some moon conditions, maybe after the first of the year, and let's see if we can actually have a live EME on the air Skype type thing. We'll see if we can. I'm talking to a few people. Maybe we'll be able to.
Well, that would be
not at my station, but at 2 other stations. We'll see if we can put that together.
Yeah, maybe we can have somebody on to actually make a contact. And as you mentioned to me, I need to learn. I guess the JT65. I think it's B. One of them. I don't know if the other modes work EME or not, but I would like to just receive something that is reflected off the moon. That would be half the deal. If I can just start receiving and seeing signals, then the next step might be to try to make a contact, and then the next step is I'll give Walter my antennas and stuff.
Well, and like we mentioned with JT65B, there is the ping mode, so you can actually ping the moon yourself and see your signal come back.
Yeah, and that's something I'm also interested in. If I can do a ping mode and see my signal come back, I know that it was me that went up there and came back. So yeah, I'll work with you, and you can help me figure out how to do that.
Sure.
How would you log
And you'll
that?
you'll get hooked to it, and the next thing you know, you'll be pouring the concrete, and the forebay will be up, and
yeah,
it's addicting.
All right. Well, look, hey man, thanks so much for it. There was a lot of, there was questions that came in. I know Josh picked some of them out. We may have missed a few of them, but I think we got most of them. And you don't have to run off. You can, stay the rest of the show with us, and we'll may just open the phone lines in a little while, and people can call in and ask you questions, me questions, Josh questions, and so forth.
Sure. Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Tom. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. We'll figure out a place to put these presentations together and notes, and then this way, if people want to go take a look at it, there'll be a central place. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, and I want to see about getting Joe Taylor on here. The guy that invented the JT65 and all and the other things. I want to get him on the show, and let's talk about doing that real soon.
Sounds good.
All right. So hopefully it hadn't been too big of a disaster tonight with the new Skype. I'm trying to get these things. All right, guys. Well, look, hey, we got some. Josh is coming up here in a minute. We're going to talk about some DIY stuff here in a minute. That's do it yourself, Walter.
Absolutely.
All right. So everybody, just hang in there. We'll be back with you in about 1 second. For the love of the holidays, surprise your favorite ham this season with a gift that's on their hot list. The holidays are just around the corner, and ICOM has plenty of cheer for everyone. The IC7610 is the SDR that every ham wants, and it's just in time for the holidays. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The ICOM 7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of a SDR transceiver. Changing the way entry-level HF is designed, the IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design and will exceed your expectations with its RF direct sampling, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, and its real-time spectrum scope. The IC-R30 raises the bar on DC to daylight receivers. Powerful yet easy to use, the R30 is packed full of features you have become to expect from ICOM, like a built-in GPS and Bluetooth, dual band with recording, high-speed scan, and Android and iOS apps. If you're looking for the perfect stocking stuffer, the ID51A Plus 2 provides new modes for extended D-Star coverage. Enjoy integrated GPS, independent AM/FM receiver, and a free Android app. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios. All right, guys, we are back. We're back, and yeah, I get things mixed up. Josh is out in California, but Pat is in Utah, and I think I introduced Pat as being in California. That's all the same. They're all out west out there somewhere. You ever look at a map? There's nobody west of there's almost nothing out that way, man, until you get to California now,
Then it's packed.
Yeah. I bet Pat doesn't have a lot of man-made interference around his house out there. Do you, Pat?
No, yeah, quite a bit. We have power lines right out the back door.
Oh, okay. Well, I know some places out there in the Midwest, man, it's not as bad as it is in a lot of places. Hey, guys, let's go out to California, and let's talk
California,
yeah. Let's talk with Josh. I can't ever get this right.
Hoshnasi.
Hoshnasi. I'll never get that, boy. It's going to take a little practice.
It's all right. KI6NAZ is also my call sign.
Hoshnasi?
That's it. Yeah,
Hoshnasi. I'll have to write that down. We're going to go out and see Hoshnasi right now. Hey, guys, Hoshnasi is going to Dayton this year, and hopefully he's going to be with us there in our streaming booth, and you guys can all come by and meet him and talk to him. Because if he's out walking around, you're never going to find him, man. It's a big place up there. So we're looking forward to it. Hey, so let me flip back over here to Josh. If I get the right stream up. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Hey, Josh, you got a little video here I think we're going to do, but what kind of led you to do this? This is a do-it-yourself project, and you do some things out portable operation and stuff, and.
Yeah, I like soda. I like activating in the field occasionally. I know QRP is kind of tough for everybody nowadays, but I still like hiking and doing outdoorsy stuff. And I had found in doing a lot of soda activations that if you wanted to do a vertical, or if you wanted to have an antenna mast that kind of was self-supporting, you basically needed like a guy plate and some multiple guy lines and stuff like that. And while that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, I thought, maybe there's an easier way to do this in a way that you could, get a center mast down for like a dipole or whatnot. And so I started thinking, I was like, well, you can use a spike of some kind. And actually I got inspired by, I think I was on a soda, one of the soda reflectors. And I was talking in the forums they have there, and they were talking about how they use these spikes. And I was like, well, that's good, but I don't really want to carry around a lot of metal, right? Because metal's heavy, particularly when you're out doing soda.
Especially something that would poke a hole in you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, well, what if we did something where it folded back on itself is a good idea, but what if it was like encased in itself so that you were less likely to, impale yourself with this hard pokey thing that you got in your pack? So I don't think I invented this by any means, because this is pretty low tech in comparison to the talk we listened to earlier. But it's just a fun, simple little thing that you probably have parts lying around for right now, and it makes deploying in a park really easy because the soil is usually pretty soft to be able to put down what I'm calling the antenna spike.
Yeah. Now, one thing that you're going to see in this video is.
We got hot mic somewhere.
Sorry. One of the things that you're going to see in this video is a doublet antenna made out of like lamp cord, zip cord, and that might seem a little strange to people, but it works fine. In fact, Martin has been on here many times, and Martin, when he was a novice and growing up, he talked about using a zip cord as a key line. All right, so we're going to jump into this video real quick. We'll be right back. Here we go.
All right. Hey, what's up, Ham Fam? It is I, Hashnasi, Ki6NAZ, and I'm coming to you with a really cool, super easy DIY project for ham radio. Not too long ago, I made a video about trimming and then setting up a 20-meter dipole, a fixed position dipole antenna. We refer to it as the KG6 HQD dipole. Of course, it's just a ladder line dipole, speaker wire dipole. It's really a doublet, right? It doesn't have a coax feed line. It has a balanced feed line that you connect to your radio. Super simple, really cheap. Go check out that video. But I started that video off showing this PVC pipe with an end cap sticking out of it. And what it is simply a piece of PVC pipe with an inner diameter that's larger than my antenna mast with a tent pole on a PVC cap. That's all it is. And it's just friction fits on the end. You drive this into the ground, as you saw in the video. And so when it's assembled like that, you just slide your antenna and that's all you gotta do. But this antenna mast is really, really thin and it bows pretty hard under the weight of that speaker wire. So I got a bigger one. Bought this off of eBay, I think, for $9. You can see the difference in the larger outer piece, right? It's almost twice the size, pretty much. So we're gonna make a new one. I'm gonna show you how to do it, but really, do you need to know how to do it? Go do it. Check it out, it's pretty easy. I used to know my way around this Home Depot. I'm looking for stakes, like a tent stake or something like that that we can put in the cap, right? And then that'll fasten with JB Weld. That's how I do it. So all you need is an end cap, some large piece of PVC. You can cut this down after the fact. This is a 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe, but that's not the actual work that has to be done. Basically, I got couldn't find a tent stake at my local Home Depot, so I just got a big nail. We're gonna drill a hole, not much larger than the outer diameter of this nail in the bottom of this cap, and then we're gonna JB weld it in place. That's pretty much it. Shout out to Step Bits. Step Bits are great for this little project. Just find the right level of the step bit that matches your spike or tent pole stake, whatever you want. Yeah, I think I got this from Harbor Freight. Cheap. So what we're looking for here is we're going to use the vise to hold the end cap. You want to try and put it in there as level and square as possible. And you want the spike going off the side of a table. The reason for that is you want it to seek its own level. You want it to be as straight coming out of the bottom of the cap as possible. And then we're just going to fill up that lower area with JB Weld. And what I like to do is twist the spike around a little bit, maybe even lift it up a little bit, get some JB Weld underneath the rounded part of the spike. Hey, who says after almost over 10 years of making YouTube videos that I know how to frame a shot? See, case in point, my right hand is covering up so much of the action here, so much of the action. All I'm doing is taking equal parts of JB Weld, making them up with a popsicle stick or hobby stick, and then I'm just gooping that stuff on top of the spike. And I think I had to make 2 little batches of this to get enough to cover about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of the nail head. That's all you need to do. There's the last little blob. And then I took the hobby stick and just kind of tried to help it self-level. JB Weld's not really good at self-leveling. It's really, really goopy stuff, really viscous. So get in there, push it around a little bit, and let it sit at least, I do at least 12 to 24 hours myself. All right, we're back, and about a day later, we have a JB welded spike in a 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe end cap. So this will be rugged enough for most soft soils. It may crack the top and push the actual spike out if you go into like really hard where you got to pound it in with a rock or something like that. I don't really recommend it for that. But with that said, if that happens and you can't get it all the way, you know, down, that's okay. If this breaks, you can always just re-glue it, pull the end piece up, and it's just attach the PVC pipe. Now, what do I do with the PVC pipe? So in the case of mine, it's way too long right now because you don't need it this long. So what I like to do is, since it stores with the spike in the pipe, I like to go about the full length of the spike and then give it about a 1/2 inch and then cut it there. So once you get the pipe cut to size, slide your pipe in, or your spike in, and this just goes in your bag. You just can put it upside down like that. If you want to throw some tape on this so it doesn't move around because it's going to jingle jangle as you're walking down the trail, that'd be fine. Ready to go, boom, snap it in place, throw your mast on, and then pull your fishing rod up or whatever you're using. And this basically acts like your center mast. You don't really need to guide the antenna at that point, unless it's really windy. Now, you will be putting a lot of the support then on the legs of your dipole if you're using a dipole, which I recommend with this particular setup. So, you know, just keep an eye out. This isn't the solution for all things, but it gets you most of the way there, and it's really good for like a park deployment, something where you have soft soil or soil that is more easy to push this spike into. And you generally just want to push it, you know, just like push it in, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's it. That's the super simple antenna mast spike PVC kit. I didn't invent this. I just decided that, oh boy, this is an easy little project that we should all do, particularly if you're thinking about building that 20-meter spike or 20-meter speaker wire or zip cord antenna that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Right button, there we go. Hey, that's pretty neat. You need something to hold that mast pipe in place, and that'll do it.
Yeah, it's nice when you're doing a dipole like that too, is you've got that center post for the mast, and then you can kind of, you're not really putting a lot of tension on the legs of the dipole, but if you're doing that speaker wire dipole like I showed, it's enough to get enough tension on there, and you're holding everything relatively still. If it's really high wind, it might not be the perfect solution, but it works really well if you want just a quick deployment type of thing where you're going to just be operating for a couple hours or, you know, part of the day. It works just fine, and that's, you know, for SOTA, that's perfect if you guys are doing that, or parks on the air or whatever, and you're doing QRP. That's more than enough than what you need.
All right, guys, go to help me.
Hoshnasi, Ki6NAZ, but Hoshnasi is how you spell it.
Yeah, look him up on YouTube and subscribe to his YouTube, man. He's got about 40,000 subscribers out there. He's got a nice big following out there, and there's a lot of great ham radio information out there. Even the exams for the different licenses. Josh is starting to put those out there. So, you know, maybe I've looked at a couple of the other videos too. You got some interesting ones there. I like the J-pole, the extended. It was a Ringo Ranger, I think you built, wasn't it? Or was it a J-pole? No, it was a J-pole.
It was a super J-poles. They called it a cactus J-pole, stuff like that, where it's dual beam, or it's dual band, so you get 70 centimeter and 2 meters out of it.
And you know, we all learn from that. I liked it at the end there where you got it so hot that the center insulator melted. That was funny.
I like to show the process I go through, even the failures, because I think you go through it. It's part of learning, and you get better if you know that you could fail. So here's an idea of how not to do.
The videos that we do when we make mistakes, that teaches people not to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it teaches them what not to do there. All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. And hey, enjoyed your DIY segment tonight, man.
Yeah, I just posted one. We just got out of the sweepstakes, and I got a lot of comments from people wanting to know how you get started with contesting. So I put out just a short, 9-minute video on explaining contesting using the ARRL sweepstakes, which The handshaking, the back and forth of the data you got to exchange, is a little involved. So I think it was a good example because I kind of walked through what you got to tell people, what you have to say. So it was fun.
All right. Well, they're asking in the chat room what's your call. It's KI6NAZ.
That's it.
And look him up on QRZ, and that will also take you to a number of his links that he has out there. All right. Well, hey, stand by. We're pretty much on schedule tonight, both of you guys. Just hang in there. And hey, we'll open the phone lines in about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll just chit-chat for the last 20 minutes of the show.
Sounds great.
I've got something here that I've been working on, and then we're going to bring Walter in too and see what Walter's been doing. But, you know, I've got a lot of horizontal antennas here, and I took my tower and my beams down years ago. I'm all wire antennas now, and I love wire antennas and love experimenting with them. So I've got inverted V's, I've got delta loops up, I've got extended double ZEPs up, I got all kinds of wire antennas up. But I was wanting to put something up with some vertical polarization, just so I could kind of flip back and forth and try it. So I've tried a few simple things. First of all, I've got a buried radio system out there. So I started off with a very basic quarter wave, 40-meter vertical piece of wire up to a tree limb, ground system, everything. But there's something in my ground system that gives it a perfect match. Perfect resonance at 6,500 kilohertz. I'm talking 1-to-1. I'm talking impedance of 50 ohms and reactance of 0. I mean, if I could just transmit on 6,500 kilohertz, I'd have it made, Walter. But so I mean, I could cut the length and change the length and try to tune it. I could never get it off that 6,500. It'd get down to about 2-to-1 in a 40-meter band, but boy, I could come down to 6,500 and boy, bang, perfect, you know. So I started thinking, okay, what's some other antennas I could do vertically, you know, with vertical polarization? Another antenna that's very popular, it has been, and probably mostly for VHF and UHF, and maybe 10 meters, 6 meters, is a coaxial, it's like a coaxial dipole. And so I built this, and what it is, typically it's a half-wave antenna, but if you'll notice the coax there, where it connects right in the center, but the coax actually runs through the shield and back out. So what I've done here is you've taken the shield off the top half of the dipole and folded it back over the jacket of the coaxial antenna here to make it a vertical dipole. And you hang it with a rope in a tree or wherever. Now, it took me about 75 feet of coax. I had some really old coax out there. It's probably 50, 60 years old, and so I didn't mind experimenting with it. But typically in a VHF and UHF sleeve dipole like this, they put like a copper pipe or aluminum pipe over the bottom to make that bottom half, and they, you know, have a vertical piece, a whip sticking up out of the top. But in theory, it will work if you fold that back. Now, it didn't work for me at 40 meters. I think there's probably way too much reactance or something going on there with that folded back shield over the other shield. So to me, it was pretty much a disaster. I fiddled with it, and I changed the length of the shield and the top conductor and tried to adjust it, but I never really got a good match. And I was really thinking that, hey, this thing, you know, I'm gonna get it down to at least 1.5, but I never did. So what I want to do is, and I've already tested this out there today. I'm going to take that quarter wave off the ground, and I can put 60 feet up real easy at the same spot there under a tree limb. So, you know, 40 meters is about 64 feet, 63, 64 feet, somewhere in there. I'm going to put 60 feet of wire up, make it a little off the halfway, but I'm going to go near halfway with it, but that's going to require matching. I can't hook coax directly to it. And I kind of wanted to get away from that ground system I've got out there in case it was causing a weird, 6,500 hertz resonance. So I built up a little, I went in a junk box, I went in the attic, and I found me just a couple old parts there. And you can tell some of them are pretty old there. If you look at that inductor in the middle, that's a homemade inductor on plexiglass and just some copper wire. I wound that probably when I was a teenager, probably about 50 years ago, but hey, it still works. So I got me a couple capacitors out, and I put that in a T network. I've got a little video I put together. I'm going to show you how it works. A T match really matches things really well. So here's a short video. Hey guys, just want to show you a little project I'm working on today. I've been trying to match or put up a vertical antenna out there. I want some vertical polarization. All my other antennas are horizontal polarization. So I've been trying various verticals. I've been trying to match a halfway vertical. Didn't have much luck with it out there. And I tried building that coaxial vertical. It's the one where you fold the shield back for a quarter wave and it actually becomes a halfway vertical. And in theory, it should have had a very low SWR and looked really good, but I never could get it resonant in a band that I'd wanted to. So it's good for VHF, UHF, but maybe on HF, the application just doesn't work real well. So I've been playing with some little tuners. This is just a little T match I built up. Martin was telling me a T match will tune anything just about perfect. I've never really used a T match before, but a T match is pretty simple. That's what a T match looks like. Just two capacitors and a variable inductor there. And so I built one up. It's really messy. I've got a lot of clip leads, clipping everything together here. But I've actually got I've got my vertical out there coming in through the coax switch. And I've got it hooked into to my little tuner here. Now, tuning this vertical is not the right place to do it in here on the coax. The tuning and matching needs to be done at the antenna, but it's dark and kind of cool outside, so I'm just playing with it in here to see what kind of results I get. So basically, back to it, two capacitors, a variable inductor. That's what I've got here. I've got two capacitors. I've got a little homemade, I dug this out of a junk box. This is a little homemade inductor I made probably 40 years ago. Just drilled out some plexiglass and wrapped some wire through it. And so for my variable inductor, I'm just shorting it out here with a clip lead. And I want you to look at the matches it's got here. Actually, it's got a pretty good match there. So it's about, well, it's showing 50 ohms, just a little bit of reactance there. And you can see, so if I try to adjust it, you can watch the meter, and you can see how the SWR kind of moves there. Let me get it down to minimum there. We'll pull this one down a little bit. You see, it's very responsive. If you look at the impedance, boy, the impedance is right on 50 ohms there. So basically, I just found a tap on the coil where it gave me the best match. And I'm gonna move it up a little bit. Move it up to right there and see how the match is. Oh, now see, it's not so good over there. I'm gonna try to see if I can tune that down a little bit. Well, it did pretty good, actually. Well, not quite as good. That's about That's about a 1.1 there with that tap. Let me try a different tap here. And you can go around the tap and get, like a half turn, 1/8 turn, and so forth. I'm gonna go up one. Let's see if that get any better match there. All right, so let's see here. Okay, that tap doesn't give me nearly as good of a as a match. So let's try to go back down here where we had the best one. Do a little peaking here on a meter, or not peaking, but tune for best match. And that's not bad. That's not bad right there. That's about a 1.2. You can see the impedance is close to 50. I'm going to try to slide the tap around a little bit. Maybe take off about, a 1/4 of a turn. So here we go. Okay, I took a little more off. Let's see how that tunes. Well, that doesn't tune down nearly as low. We're about a 1.2 now. So let's take the tap the other way. Let's take it the other way, and let me go around over here on this side a little bit. Let's see what that does. All right, that's enough of that video. You guys kind of get the message here of what I'm trying to do. Now, I was just playing with it inside the house here on this coax. I recommend, if you're going to match an antenna, put the match out at the antenna. Don't try to put it on the end of your coax here. The little tuners in the radios and stuff, they're great to kind of, even things out a little bit. But there's no need of me matching a bad antenna in here at the coax. I've got 50 ohms in the radio, and I got a 50 ohm coax, so it's matched here. The problem is out at the end of the radio. So it was a little dark and it was cold out there, so that's why I was just playing with the match here on the end of the coax just to see how it functioned, and it seemed to function pretty good. Actually, there were some great dips, and it was very broad-banded. I could tune it for, say, 7200, and I would have it less than 1.5 SWR for the entire band. So it was pretty good. So my next thing I'm going to do, well, it may not be the next, is to go out and put up about 60 feet of wire.
There you go.
A half wavelength vertical has a lower takeoff angle than a quarter wave does. So, I'm just trying it. Now, I did hook this up today and listened to that. I took that little tuning unit and I put it out at the antenna, and I came in here. And I did tune up on the vertical, and great match. And when I compare the extended ZEP to the delta loop to the vertical, nearly every one of them were almost within just very close in signal strength to each. But I found one guy I could go the vertical, and he'd be 20 over. He was 20 over S9, and on the other antennas he was like S9. So it's just that the horizontal antennas, of course, have lobes, and if you're somewhere and you're not in one of those lobes, you're not going to hear it as well as a vertical. So I just wanted something to play with. All right, so we're going to open some phone lines up here. Let me put the phone number up there for everybody. If I can find it. I think that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. 901-286-1116. We got Josh here. We've got Pat here. We've got Walter here. Hey, Walter, let's talk about you for a little while, man. Real quick, while we're waiting on some calls to come in, man.
Uh-oh, that's scary.
You've operated some HF sideband from the airplane.
We have indeed.
And he was telling me that on the radio in the, I guess it's up here, right? or is the radio down here?
It depends on the model.
Okay. You know, up on the radio up here, it's just like for this frequency, it's only got SSB. It don't have upper sideband. It don't have lower. It just says SSB. So, you know, Walter asked, I guess, one of the radio guys here.
I did. One of the technical guys, and I said, if I'm on 7 megahertz or 14 megahertz, does it know? Does the radio know
what sideband
to go to lower sideband or upper sideband? And he said, in fact, it did.
And what was his other comment about that? Nobody's ever.
Yeah, in 5 or 6 years, that's the first time I've been asked that.
And that's because you're a ham and you know about radio, where all the other pilots are just dumb pilots that fly an airplane, right?
No, I don't know about that dumb, but they get it done.
See, but you're not a dumb pilot because you're a ham and a pilot. And you
how about that? Yeah.
But you asked a technical question. You probably impressed the guy. You showed him that you knew something about the radio there. Oh, okay. Let's look for phone calls here. Nothing yet. Just watch the phone line over there. So cool. So you've operated some HF from the airplane. You even operated on the ground, didn't you?
I did. I was sitting in a ramp. I don't remember where it was.
Was it Baltimore somewhere? Look, north somewhere.
Maybe Cleveland. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was sitting. I went out to the jet early before we were going because I knew I had an HF radio, and I think I talked to some guy in Texas. And sitting still on the ramp.
And you're on the ramp. You're not up in the air, and that doesn't have a very much of an antenna. Describe the antenna that's on the A300.
As it was described to me, it's on the leading edge of the vertical stab, and it runs about 4 feet right inside the leading edge, which would be a compromise at best.
But you know what? When you're in I don't know. I didn't ride it many of the A300s, so I'd get on the 10s and stuff, but I mean, they're pretty high off the ground, man. I'm sure the 300 is probably, is it higher or as high as a DC-10?
Well, no, it's not quite as tall. I sit at about 30 feet just statically on the ground. And so the stab's going to be, the vertical part will be probably another 6, 8, the bottom of it 6, 8, 10 feet above that, and then going up from there.
So,
plus, kind of interesting, you might get some directionality from the way the fuselage is oriented too. I was just kind of thinking about that.
Yeah, you probably.
Because you got all that metal underneath it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, some of it is. The Airbus is actually, a lot of it is composite.
Ah.
But there is some metal incorporated in it.
But that's interesting. You're talking about a little 4-foot antenna, and you're making contacts on it, but it's probably 40 feet in the air, too. I mean, it's higher than a lot of people put up an antenna at their house sometimes.
Yeah, but we may be doing 500-600 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's any Doppler shift in that, man.
I'm not sure. The last guy I talked to who was down in Huntsville, and I wish he was in the chat room. I haven't heard from him in a while. He's in Huntsville, and I'm at altitude south of Nashville. So it's not, he was basically line of sight anyway. But he said the signal was extremely strong down there, and he was strong up into the airplane. We don't have any kind of meters or gauges or any things like that. It's just a basic radio head with you dial in some numbers. But he was.
So if you wanted to change the polarization of that antenna, what do you just get it up in the air and just cock that thing over 90 degrees and just hold?
You just go over on the knife's edge like that.
Yeah, just put it on the knife's edge and just operate. Then you're operating horizontal.
There
right?
you go.
Yeah, like when we operate.
Or you could make it one of these and just keep going.
When we operate satellite, we turn that antenna for polarity there. I can just see you up there flying, get your co-pilot over there, and you're making a contact. You're starting to fade a little bit, so you're just rotating that air up. There's the best signal right there. Now
there it is.
Change back.
Yeah, just tell him you hold it. I got the rudders. We just kind of give it this.
So, what's your co-pilot think when you get on a frequency that he's never seen? Is it disturb him, or does he wonder what's going on here?
What are you doing? Is normally, actually, I'll tell him, hey, look, you're flying. I'm going to play with the HF radio a little bit. I won't be long. If I get a radio call, I'm coming back to you anyway. So. It's a very sporadic, and normally they're very quick. And I'll tell somebody when I'll talk to them where I am, I have a very limited time, and if I have to run, please understand I just have to run. And then everybody on the other end has been very good about it.
Well, I talked during the net tonight. I talked to a guy flying a Gulfstream, from Chicago to Hattiesburg. He was right over Memphis. Talked to him. He's a follower of the show. He watches the videos and everything. And in fact, he left us a note in our Facebook group. But he, 100 miles out, he had to get off the radio because I guess that last 100 miles goes pretty quick, and you've got a lot of things you have to do, right?
Well, you're going downhill.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to really be paying attention.
Now, we were talking about, let's see, what we got into things like, hey, there's no such thing as too much gas unless you're on fire. That's one of your rules. Another thing is, he said something about the height above. So, let's see, it was almost one of the same things where
things you can't have too much of.
You can't have too much of. That's right. You can't have too much height above.
Below.
Below. Okay, below. And there was some other thing. I forget what it was, but it was
and tailwinds.
It was an interesting conversation that we had there. I can't believe we're not getting any calls there. 901-286-1116. I guess I'm sure the phone's working. So I'm expecting Russ to call. Russ out in out west there. Russ KG0. Was it BG? KG0BK. Russ, how come you hadn't called in tonight?
Well, the phone lines were silent when I was here the first time, so I'm here again and there's no call. So I'm thinking it's my curse. I've cursed you guys. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I'm gonna give Russ probably he's in Dubuque, Iowa. I'm gonna give him a demerit if he doesn't hurry up and call in. He calls in every night and
I was just talking to Russ actually, in the chat.
Maybe
I'm answering too many questions in the chat. Maybe that's
he was here.
Yeah, we send him a check every week to call in, man, and he may have stepped away from the thing here.
Here's
so you got one there? Okay, let's grab it here real quick. Let's see. Oh, you're gonna have to use your mouse and answer it. Okay. All right. Hello. Who's on the phone?
Hey, Tom. It's Jeff, M3V. Hey, Walter.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Will you turn it up a little bit?
I felt bad. No one's calling in, so I thought I'd give you a call.
What was that, Jeff?
I said I felt bad. No one was calling in, and then I thought I'd give you a call.
Well, no.
Well, thank you very much.
In fact, you saved the day, man. I mean, hey. So, how you been doing lately, Jeff? We haven't talked, man. I've been so busy with different things going on, man. You doing okay up here?
How are things in Jersey?
Everything's fantastic up here. Ham radio's good. Life's good. Looking forward to a four-day weekend, and hope a lot of people can take the time off to be thankful for the family and everything they have, and ham radio too.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, Thanksgiving has always been my favorite holiday all my life, over Christmas and New Year's and all that. But hey, our families are all getting grown and moved off and doing things, and we got a much smaller group coming over this year, but still it'll be fun.
That's good. Yeah, like my father always said as he was getting old, he says, getting old sucks. Life changes so much, and enjoy it while you have it, and enjoy your family while they're around, because some of them start to disappear.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing my ham family with you guys soon. It'll be it's almost 6 months now.
Yeah, we're getting close, aren't we?
That's true. That's exactly right. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. I always imagine what their meetings are like every month. Well, we're down to 7 months. Now we're down to 6 months. And, that's got to be a lot of work that they put into this. And so, question, Tom. I would imagine in a couple of weeks you might get an update from these guys.
Yeah, they've already told me that they had some new news to give. So I think they'll probably want to come on a show here pretty soon and talk about Hamvention. There's not going to be a new building again this year. It's just not going to happen.
Well, that's okay.
That's okay.
Great. I heard there was supposed to be a new hotel that might be open.
There is a new hotel. We checked on it. It's like $298 a night.
Ooh.
Now, I don't know what's going on there, but
only Jeff could afford that.
Yeah.
Well, New York City maybe $298. But geez, Dayton, Xenia.
Yeah, well, it's an expensive deal for us. We're up here. Well, we're up here 5 days, I think, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, we're up here 5 days.
5 nights, yeah.
And 2 rooms. That's 10 nights.
That's
But but it's a lot of fun, and everything works out okay there. In fact, instead of 10 nights, it was going to be 11 nights if astronaut Wheelock stayed. But the way he worked it out this year, he drove in and left the same day, so I was able to cancel the room one night. By the way, Doug Wheelock, astronaut Doug Wheelock, I talked to him this week, and he has indicated that he would love to try to be with us again as a co-host in Dayton this year. He said he's going to pencil us in, but he says we're so far out, we're 7 months out or 6 months out that, and I started asking, well, what's an astronaut doing that you're too busy that you can't plan on going to Dayton? I've been to Dayton 37 years straight without missing a time. Why can't an astronaut make it 6 years in a row? I can't figure it out.
That's a good question. I would imagine that working for the military, you got other obligations that might come in the way.
Yeah, well, he's a cool guy, and I think he'll be with us if he can. And a lot of times though, we don't know until there's been years I didn't know until 2 days before Dayton. It's I'm coming, or something's happening, or so I may not know for a few days before. But Doug has been promoted. He's head of space operations, whatever that means.
NASA's, that's kind of impressive. Yeah, he's a great guy, and it's amazing that he comes out there. And I love how he interacts with the young hams, which is so important. To get people interested in the hobby, the young crew,
Yeah, well, he's head of NASA space operations, and he said, we're really busy. He said we had a rocket blow up last week.
That's not good.
The rocket blew up, and they had to do that emergency. They came down safe. They were the capsule. That sucker, yeah.
That was scary. Yeah, I thought of him when I heard about that accident that day.
So that kind of stuff's happening. He's spending a lot of time in Russia, and we'll see. Hopefully he'll make it.
Okay.
He's not going to make it one of these years. I can tell you now, he's not going to make it. And but that's okay. He's been with us for 5 years. I can't hold it against him if he doesn't make it. But he's going to try.
Well, you did a great job trying to, working to get him out there and all the work you did. It's a great addition to your program out there to have Colonel Wheelock. So, all right, I'll let you go.
All right, Jeff. Hey, thanks for calling, man. Okay. I think we did. All right, we'll see you. I think we just missed a call. We had a call come in here. We just missed it. Give us a call, 901-286-1116. We got Josh on here, and we got Pat on here. We got Walter here in the studio. You guys call in and tell them what you like or don't like. Ask them a question. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to get the new software for the RigPi Station Controller. I'm beta testing.
RigPi, what is that?
It's a.
Here we go.
Go ahead and answer that, and we'll put them on hold just for a second. The RigPi is.
Hang on, caller, just a second.
Yeah, the RigPi is there. It is right there, Josh. That is a new product that MFJ is coming out with. It's Raspberry Pi based. It's got a browser in it. In fact, I'm using the browser over here right now to do call lookups and chat room and everything. And it's got it's a remote station access to your radio. You plug your radio into that. You don't even have to have a computer anymore. And the nice thing about this is, it's not Droid based or iOS or anything like that. This will work with any system as long as you've got a browser, whether you got an iPhone or Windows or Linux or whatever you got. As long as you got a browser, you can control your station and make contacts, and it works really great.
Look at that.
Walter
That's very cool. It looks like it's based off of the Raspberry Pi, but that's a nice little platform. That's perfect.
And this is an old configuration. I've been working with them, and we've requested a lot of improvements to be put in this. I found a lot of bugs and stuff. For instance, this is under development, but it should be getting close. For instance, that's the S meter up there. And I said, we need, when you go to transmit, I'd like to see either a power meter there or an SWR meter there. And that's a good indication of how your signal, you're putting power out into your antenna. So this will do split. It'll do everything. It's across the internet. It's cool, and it will be. I'm using it already. You can go to RigPi. I think just do a search for RigPi. Is it rigpi.org?
I don't just Google RigPi and you ought to be able to
Google
come
it,
up with. I don't remember the website
out there. It's not for sale yet, but again, we're
working on it.
We're working with it. Who we got on the phone?
Oh, let's give you a guess, Tom.
Oh, wait. No, wait a minute. All right, boy, you just barely got in under the skin of your teeth. I will send you a check, Russ. How you doing?
Well, when I heard you call or holler for me, I dialed in, and the guy got in first, which is fine.
All right.
But
all right.
I was going to give you a night off tonight, but couldn't do that after you hollered. So.
Hey, man, you getting any snow or anything out there? Is it getting wintertime out in Iowa?
We had a snow about 10 days ago, an inch. We had one about 3 days ago, an inch, and then it warms up and everything goes off.
Okay. Walter,
so, yeah, it's here and it's gone. It's here, it's gone.
Walter, we had snow, was it last week?
We did. Little ice.
Boy, it was like
snow and ice.
It was like .0001. That was some bad stuff.
Just shut us down.
That's right.
So they shut down the whole town, right?
They did.
Yeah.
So,
well, we have to go to 6 inches before they even think about canceling school.
And around here, if they didn't, they should.
Hey, you don't. They haven't had to do any de-icing or anything, do they? Do we have de-icing stuff out there?
Oh yeah.
We got it out there, right? Mm-hmm. So
I was in training during all that, so I was driving back and forth to the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Well, I do have two things tonight. I'll just try to make it quick. I always say that and always ramble on.
Okay, Russ. What's going on?
Tonight, middle of October, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, I was putting up a new antenna, the roll-up antenna, they call it, I guess, I can't have one outside per se because of my homeowner's restrictions, so I was finding a place on the wall to put it, and as I was putting that on, I heard this gal come across, and all I heard that I could hear was SS, and then SS. And finally got it nailed up good enough I could get it in the radio, and it was NA1 SS, or NAIS, or NA1
wow.
SS. Yeah. I think it was Stephanie was her name.
Yeah,
I'm not real sure on that. But so I thought, well, okay, so let's call her. So I hollered back, and she says, BK, come back. And we talked about probably about 30 seconds. There were so many people trying to contact her, she was having a hard time hearing me. And I go, well, apparently my antenna's working. I got the space station. And right after that, and you were talking with the scanner and stuff, I'm getting a W1 call, and I answered them, and they were real brief, but we were actually bouncing off the space shuttle from one another. And, of course, it goes so fast you don't have much time to bounce off. But that's what we figured we were doing.
Yeah, now they can put that radio in repeater mode on the space station. They used to do that a lot. Now, I don't know that they've done that. Pat, do you know if they're ever putting it back in repeater mode?
I don't know. I haven't followed that part of it closely enough.
I don't think so. I haven't heard anything like that.
Years ago, they would put it. It runs packet, and then of course they make direct contacts, And used to, the hams would get so mad at them, you know, and they would, you know, say, well, why don't they put it in a repeat when they're not using it, you know? And it's like, well, you know, they got more things to do up there, you know. But yeah, there is a repeat mode on there if they put it in crossband or whatever. So that's possible that they did that.
Yeah, Tom, I know they used to do that, but this was on the same frequency, 145, 825, I think it was.
Yeah.
So we were on the same frequency. We definitely weren't on a repeater split frequency. Yeah. And we just got each other's call, and we had to, well, I had to contact him through QRZ to find out, yeah, we actually had talked to one another. But it was just about enough time to give out your call sign, and that was it. And we figured we must have been doing that through bouncing off
you know, and that's very
the
possible.
space shuttle itself.
And you know, hey, tonight we were talking about meteor showers and working that way. There's an article in one of the CQs this year where people are actually they're bouncing signals off airplanes and making contacts just like you would through meteor showers. I don't know how effective it is or how much they're doing it. Have you heard of that, Pat?
Yeah, I have. I that's got to be a challenge and a half, but I guess it could be done.
Yeah. So hey, it's interesting. Well, congratulations on working at the space station, and I tell you, it's kind of funny. Back when Doug was up there, you know, he was a new ham. He'd had his license 1 week. He got aboard and. You know, these astronauts, they can drive a space station around, but sometimes they might not know how to work a ham radio. Mm-hmm. And even I mean, being a ham 50 years, a lot of these new radios, you know, the programming,
it's beyond me.
They're awful. But you know, I would contact Doug on the right frequencies, and then maybe the next pass he'd be on reverse, and I would listen and I would find him and I'd go reverse and I'd talk to him up there. And I think one time he was on direct, but you know, I think he enjoyed the ham radio, and he made tons and tons of contacts up there. And
well, my other point was was on tuners. I was talking to 2 or 3, 4 people in the chat room when you had brought up your tuner and was showing that there's still a lot of people that think the tuner tunes the antenna. And I was trying to tell them, no, you're just matching your radio 50 ohms to the antenna. It still could be a bad antenna, but everything's matched.
Well, and you know what? I think you can have a good antenna, and it still might be mismatched. Therefore, I think it's possible to match into a good antenna.
That's possible.
By matching.
It didn't actually tune the antenna, and I agree with you. Your tuner should be actually at the antenna. Then you're tuning everything up to the antenna, and you get a good match. Yeah. You can tune farther down, like from your radio. Now you're tuning your transmission line and everything. So the radio's happy, but your antenna's still going to be your antenna.
Yeah, Russ, I was chatting with you in the chat room. I agree completely, and I think for things like people that want to operate QRP or they're going to go out in the field, I think it's vitally important that you know you're getting as much power as you can to that antenna. The tuner, like you said, is just making the radio feel good about itself, but you really want to get a good match on the antenna side so that you're getting as much of that power out as possible, particularly with QRP.
Exactly. That's what they were talking about, internal tuners. And I said, well, that just goes to your output of your radio if you got an internal tuner. And now it will put out 100 watts instead of drawing itself back to 75 watts, 50 watts, whatever it needed to keep itself happy. With the new radios, they do that automatically so they don't burn themselves up.
Well,
so now you can get 100 watts out of the... Well, you get 100 watts out, but you're still not getting 100 watts to your antenna, no matter where you put it. But I think an external tuner is still better, no matter what.
Yeah, and by matching at impedance, I mean, you're going to have more power transfer if you're matched. If you're not matched, the power is not going to transfer. You're going to get more power into the antenna, and it may be a lousy, antenna, but hey, You know, us hams, we don't know how things work, but we just make contacts. You can take an antenna tuner and hook it to a pair of bed springs outside and make contacts on it, man.
Oh yeah, and yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. They call them antenna tuners. They should be. I don't know what they should be called, but they don't tune the antenna. The antenna is going to be tuned to the length
they're impedance match devices, really, is what they are.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, again, not to bang the soda drum anymore, but after you hike, 3 miles, uphill to get to your summit, and you're at the top, and it's blowing wind on you, and it's cold. You really want that antenna putting all them magic pixies of RF out as you can. That's important.
If you recall the old 5-tube radios, they had, I don't know, 1,000 ohms output, I think. So they always put a transformer in there at the audio side to transform that 1,000 ohms down to your 8 ohms so you could use that for the speaker. They always did that. And it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good.
Only in RF.
And Russ, that's a good discussion here, because you took the high impedance. If you hooked the speaker right to that, you wouldn't get much sound out of it, would you? But by putting that speaker matching transformer in there, go from the high impedance down to that 4 or 8 ohms, you transferred that efficiently, and the speaker put out sound. So that's a good indication there to show you a practical example of how impedance matching will transfer power.
Okay.
And you know what?
Yeah. Okay.
And you know what?
I did, and I didn't think of that on the RF level. So,
yeah. And you know what? You put that power into a wire. It's got to go somewhere out there. It's going to go somewhere. Hey guys, man, it's been a great night. Did you know man, we've gone way over time. It's 10 minutes until 10 here. We probably ought to think about closing the show down, although we're having fun, but we're
well, let me get off here in case there's another caller, and thanks, Tom, for your time. Oh, and appreciate your show tonight, as always.
Thanks, Russ. Your check's in the mail for this week, man. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
All right. Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and close it down. Again, it's awful late. I've got a visitor here in the shack. I got Walter with me, so I'm going to visit with him a minute. We're going to talk about satellite over here a little bit. I got a lot of things going on probably tomorrow, maybe some improvements on my satellite system, working on the RigPi beta testing. That's going on. I'm going to go out and put the half-wave vertical up tomorrow. Yeah, I got to get ready to eat, turkey and dressing and all that, man. Yeah. All right, so we're going to say good night to everybody. Josh, great having you on tonight.
It was great. Thank you.
I think Pat looks like he's already left us, I think. Send me through to you. Send me through to everybody. Thanks to everybody for following us. Hey, go over and check out Josh's site on YouTube, and he's on Facebook and Instagram. You're everywhere, aren't you?
I think if there's a social media, I'm probably on it. One of the best places to find me is actually the Ham Radio Crash Course, which we made on Facebook. We've just crossed about 1,600 members, and we started it less than a year ago. I feel like we're in the hundreds now of people that we've gotten licensed, which I think is really important. It's one of my main reasons for starting doing the videos the way we've been doing them on Facebook. So, yeah, check us out over there as well. Ham Radio Crash Course, and then Hosh Nasi YouTube channel.
Okay, sounds good, and we will talk to you before next week, and we'll see what you can surprise us with next week. We'll say good night to everybody.
Thanks, Josh. Good night. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, 7-3.
7-3, everybody.
See you later. It's snack time, and we'll see y'all next week, man.